Here we go. Boom! Woo!
That's my Air Force right there, buddy.
Welcome to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Lex. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment on the content. I appreciate you supporting the brand. You know what I'm trying to do with this. I'm at about 27 subs right now. I like to get to 100, then 500, then 1,000, 2,000. You know how this goes. So I really and truly appreciate you helping me to build this. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. You know who I am. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed yourself with your family. I hope you stayed safe. For those of you who live in the Northeast, in particular the New York tri-state area, well, the Northeast in general, it was super cold this weekend. I think I'd read somewhere, I don't remember specifically, it was in the mountains of New Hampshire, negative 50, but with the wind chill, minus 101, a U.S. record. It was cold, especially like Friday night, trying to step out to do some things, and that wind was gusting, and I am a winter guy. I am a fall and a winter guy. I love it. I will take it over the summer any day of the week, but Friday into Saturday wasn't as bad because it wasn't as windy, but whew, it was frigid out there, and we've had a very mild winter, so definitely I hope everybody stayed safe out there, bundled up, or stayed indoors and didn't do much, and just stayed safe. Obviously, some news going on this weekend. The big news that they're trying to distract people with is the Chinese balloon. It was a surveillance drone or whatever it was, supposedly flying all over the United States, and it was shot down by a jet fighter on Saturday. I'm going to read the article here. I've got it right in front of me from Time Magazine. Chinese balloon was shot down by the U.S. military. Here's what we know is going on. U.S. fighter jet. Why is this not working? It doesn't matter. Anyway, a U.S. fighter jet shot down a suspected Chinese spy blimp above the Atlantic Ocean off the South Carolina coast Saturday, ending a 3-day spectacle that dominated headlines and created an international incident. Sounds like a false flag and a distraction to me. The operation took place at the direction of Joe Biden in U.S. airspace as the balloon drifted over the water. Senior defense officials say that the balloon was successfully downed by a single missile at 12:39 p.m. I told him to shoot it down, blah, blah, blah. Downing the large, slow-moving balloon over the ocean reduced the risk of falling debris, causing damage or casualties, a concern that military commanders had earlier in the week as it drifted eastward across the country. Biden said he gave the military authority to take down the alleged surveillance balloon on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, why did it take till Saturday to do it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. With orders to shoot it once it's no longer a fear endangering Americans on the ground. Blah, blah, blah. Sounds like a false flag to me. We all know that they all do business together. And why would you... They already answered that question, that they wanted to make sure it wasn't above civilians, etc. I get all that, but how did y'all not know? How did y'all let 7 days go by, almost 7 days, go by for this thing to go around? Come on. All the information, if it's actually a spy balloon, who knows? Okay, there's too many false flags out here, too many things going on. It just makes you think. You know, once you have your third eye open, you look at the world in a completely and totally different way, okay? We've talked about 9/11 in the past, you know, how the Pentagon the day before announced like trillions of dollars that they couldn't account for, which doesn't make any sense. It's just missing. And then a day later, 9/11 happens. We all know I don't have any evidence of it because I don't do as much, I'm not on the inside, but, you know, that 9/11 was an inside job. Supposedly, the Clinton administration knew a year before and did nothing about it. and then it landed under Bush, which led to the illegal Iraq war and all these other things in Afghanistan, the whole double crossing and all that other stuff. Yeah, so I know that was a big to-do. I know a lot of people, including people I know, are very nervous. We don't have to worry ourselves too much. Most of the people in the military aren't allowed to talk about it. They have a gag order, the whole bit. If you see these things enough times, you know that some type of BS is going on. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Yeah, so we'll see what comes of it. Sounds like a distraction to me. Maybe there's $10 trillion they're going to give to the 1% of the 1%. I haven't the slightest clue, but definitely sounds suspicious. If you knew this thing was in the atmosphere, why would you just let it continue to coast? Most of the United States is built on water, so, you know, whatever. It is what it is. They claim that they got it, and they're going to check the technology. We all know how that goes. Anyway, that's just one topic. That happened over the weekend. You know, people are just, let me see. Actually, the China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement late Saturday condemning the strike. The U.S. using force is a clear overreaction, a serious violation of international practice. China will resolutely safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of companies concerned and reserves the right to make further responses if necessary. Can we stop with this, by the way? Now the Chinese are sitting here claiming victim when you have a balloon in American airspace. The only thing that this tells me is that somebody allowed this to happen. Let's see. The Federal Aviation Administration restricted airspace Saturday afternoon over 3 cities, North Carolina, South Carolina, as military assets moved into position. Yeah, this all sounds very suspicious. The balloon was flying roughly 60,000 feet at an altitude about twice that of normal civilian air traffic. In the aftermath, the unmanned balloon being shot down by officials say the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard have sent multiple ships to retrieve the wreckage obtained, blah, blah, blah. So the Chinese are mad that their balloon got shot down in U.S. airspace, which, just on a person on the outside looking in, sounds like it was allowed, and now this is just going to be some BS to distract us. That's all that sounds like. You know, like I said, once you've seen enough of these things and you've paid enough attention, you know that there's some BS going on out here. You know, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because nothing really came of it. And quite honestly, nobody's going to go to jail over it, or there's not going to be any sanctions against China. So, you know, kind of it is what it is as it pertains to that. But there's another topic that I want to talk about, much more important than that BS geopolitical nonsense that went on over the weekend. There is a Dr. Fatimah Cody. What's her name now? Anyway, she is a doctor out of Harvard, an associate professor at Harvard, and she is supposedly an obesity expert. Supposedly an obesity expert, which is hilarious to me. I'm going to play the clip of her on 60 Minutes. This came out about a month ago. I'm sorry that I missed it. I'm just talking about it now. Let me play the clip, and then we're going to get back to the rest of the show here, and I'll rant on this. Give me 1 second.
It's a brain disease.
It is?
It's a brain disease. And the brain tells us how much to eat and how much to store.
Dr. Fatimah Cody Stanford, an obesity doctor at Mass General Hospital, an associate professor at Harvard Medical School, says common beliefs about obesity are all wrong.
It is your turn to get on that scale.
And diet shows, like The Biggest Loser,
You lost 128 pounds.
are snookering people. If you diet, you lose weight, right?
For many of us, we can go on a diet, something like The Biggest Loser, right? You go and you restrict people, you make them work out for 10 hours a day, and then you feed them 500 calories. For most people, they will acutely lose weight. But 96% of those participants in The Biggest Loser regained their weight because their brain worked well. It was supposed to bring them back to store what they needed or what the brain thinks it needs.
So willpower
throw that out the window. My last patient that I saw today was a young woman who's 39, who struggles with severe obesity. She's been working out 5 to 6 times a week, consistently. She's eating very little. Her brain is defending a certain set point.
A set point, says Dr. Stanford, is a range of weight your brain is in charge of maintaining by controlling how much food you eat and how much of it you store. One theory is that it's an evolutionary survival mechanism that helped retain fat during famines. So we had COVID. Lots and lots of people gain weight. Did those people have a new set point that's higher now?
Absolutely. So when you have a chronic stressor and you get to a certain weight and maintain that weight for, let's say, at least 3 to 6 months, then you recalibrate that set point to a different set point.
Ladies and gentlemen, this woman is serving some of the biggest pile of garbage that I have ever heard in my entire life. Now, there's another part of the interview. I'm going to find it. Just give me 1 second here, where she talks about it being a genetic disease and not about what you intake. Ladies and germs, this woman is one of the biggest scammers, and I guess Joe Biden has hired her. I forget the name of the. They're like some kind of a health group or something along those lines. I'll have to find it and I'll talk about it. But ladies and gentlemen, this woman is one of the biggest liars I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the biggest. For her to make these claims is asinine, and quite frankly, she should have her medical degree stripped from her. If we're keeping it 100. This is an outright lie, okay? For her to say that this is a brain disease, actually, let me see if I can get the clip right here.
This particular doctor has claimed the doctors do not understand obesity.
That's not the clip that I want. The reality is this, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the other, part of the interview. I'm going to play it for you, and then we're going to come back and talk about
fast food, that it's the Diet Cokes, that kind of thing, that is the instigator. Is that true?
So I think we have to look at the different causes of obesity as a big pie. And that's one factor. But notice how I'm using this part of the pie, right? But the number one cause of obesity is genetics. That means if you are born to parents that have obesity, you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of having the disease yourself, even with optimal diet, exercise, sleep management, stress management. So when people see families that have obesity, the assumption is, what are they feeding those kids?
Yeah.
They're doing something wrong. Actually, do you know this? 79 to 90% of physicians in the United States have significant bias towards individuals that are heavier. Now, doctors listening to me may say, oh, it's not me. Hold your horses, because has that patient come to you and told you, look, doc, I'm eating well. Look, doc, I'm exercising. And the doc says to them, are you sure? I don't believe that that's really what you're doing.
Wait, are you saying that doctors don't understand obesity? Doctors
do not understand obesity.
And one
The only part of that she's actually factual about is the fact that doctors don't understand obesity. But everything else that this woman said in this interview with 60 Minutes is complete and total and utter goddamn rubbish. Everything that she said. For her to say that obesity is genetic is one of the biggest lies I've ever heard in my entire life. The reason that so many people are obese in the United States of America, it was 33% in 1999, it's around 42% now, is because of the food, in particular fast food, sugar, and everything along those lines. You don't have to be a doctor to understand that. For her, and you know what else I'm sick and tired of? To be quite honest with you, I'm sick and tired of the establishment sending people of color, black, brown, however it is you identify, to come out here and lie to people about things as it pertains to their health. We saw it all the time. For those of you who live in the New York area, it was always a black doctor or it was always a brown doctor who was coming out, man or woman, telling you needed to get your COVID shot for the betterment of society. We all know that's not the case. In fact, a good portion of people who took the COVID shot have run into a lot of, I'm not going to say all of them, obviously, but some people have run into issues like myocarditis. We all know what that means. It means an inflamed heart. There is an uptick in it. And what is the direct correlation? People who either got the COVID shot or got the COVID shot in the boosters. I am sick and goddamn tired of these quote-unquote medical professionals coming out here telling these lies. For her to say that obesity is genetic is one of the biggest goddamn farces ever. In places where there is famine, in places where food is scarce, is there obesity? Do you see obesity pretty much anywhere else except for the United States? She brings up, well, do you have a 50 to 85% chance? Yeah, because those parents are feeding the kids the same crap that they were fed. Now, can you have like a thyroid issue which regulates your hormones, and can that directly affect your hormones, which can affect your weight? Yes, that is very true. Can that be genetic? I believe it can, yes. Sometimes you can run into an issue, but the majority of people, 90% or above, who have weight issues is because of what they are consuming. Period. I don't care that she's an associate professor at Harvard. I don't give a fuck about Harvard. I'm sick and tired of people lying out here. And I just found this out recently. Let me see if I can find the article. Physician who claimed obesity can't be treated with diet and exercise joins the Biden administration. Are you fucking kidding me? The physician who came under fire for comments claiming that obesity is more about genetics than lifestyle in a 60-minute interview earlier this month is now a member of the Biden USDA 2025 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, which will help to determine the dietary standards for Americans in the coming years. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen some of those things. They have sugary cereal. I've seen the chart that they're redoing. I've seen sugary cereal on there saying it's healthier than some other healthy foods. What the fuck? They are out here absolutely positively lying and are allowed to get away with it. This is criminal. Once again, there should be a petition to have her medical degree taken from her. Her medical license, excuse me. For her to claim that she claims that diet and exercise have little impact is literally an absolute utter lie. It's an absolute and utter lie. For her to say that with a straight face, I know people don't watch 60 Minutes like they used to, but on a nationally syndicated interview is borderline. I think she should be in prison, but that's probably going a little too far. I'm in the health and fitness world. That is what I do. I've done it for close to 20 years. For her to tell this lie really pisses me the fuck off. For her to tell this lie shows you her morals. And she's on the advisory board for Biden, which tells you something else. How many morally corrupt people do we have in the world? And I'm not talking about relationships and all those other things. I'm talking about doing your job. She was right about doctors not knowing anything about obesity, though. All doctors know how to do is diagnose and cure disease with medication. That is what they do. You know what happens if you go to a doctor and say, "Doc, I'm having a little problem with my weight"? You know what they say? Go see a personal trainer. If you go to see a doctor and you have some type of a physical ailment that maybe requires some kind of physical therapy, they don't try to do anything. For the most part, they're not trained in that. They're trained specifically to diagnose and attempt to cure disease. Well, really more like diagnose and get you on a medication for a long period of time. When's the last time you heard about a doctor curing something? Huh? When's the last time doctors who actually came out at the height of all the Rona stuff and were saying things like, we shouldn't, let's wait before we start giving people the jab? There was, I think it was California, if memory serves me correctly. They were trying to put a bill in for any doctor who came out against the COVID vaccine could have the potential to lose their license to practice medicine. These are the people who you're supposed to go to and say, look, they're the people who are telling you, like, look, we don't know about this medication yet. This, or for a lot of people, this gene therapy. We don't know yet. Let's wait a little bit before we start telling people to go and take it. And they were going to have their medical licenses removed. But this woman can come out on a nationally syndicated show, get the protection of corrupt people in the government, and tell them that this has to do with genetics and nothing to do with what you're consuming and how much sleep you get. That goes against everything. She's a fucking liar. She should be fired, and she should have her medical license removed. And anybody else who sits there and condones this kind of bullshit. It's an outright fucking lie. I don't care that Joe Biden hired her. Joe Biden was doing work in Ukraine. He's corrupt himself. What are we doing out here? And I know what some people are thinking, well, you're just mad because you're a personal trainer. No. Anybody who feeds you nonsense like that deserves to lose their license. We all know how it works. People just don't want to do it. And also from what I'm reading, I guess there's a short supply of this new weight loss medication. That was part of the 60 Minutes piece as well. I'm going to get the name of it for you. I wonder how much money she's getting from this LLC. What is it called? I wonder how much money she's getting from this LLC. It's called Ozempic, a medication used to treat type 2 diabetes, is being used off-label as a weight loss drug. I wonder how much money she's getting from them. I wonder how many stock options she has in it. She ought to be, quite frankly, ashamed of herself. I don't care if she's black or not. You're out here telling lies. When we all know you have to make lifestyle changes, and anybody who tells you that who says that that's not the case is lying to you. And you should be asking what it is that they're trying to sell you. What a shame. Her family, she should be ashamed of herself, and her family should be ashamed. Yeah, I'm going there today. This is ridiculous. How dare this woman? This lying lowlife sit there and make it seem as if people not change, that you don't have to change your lifestyle. I'm going to let you in on a little secret for those of you who might believe in her. What she's selling you is bullshit. Excluding you have some type of thyroid issue or something along those lines. The only way you're going to lose weight, the only way that you'll lose proper weight is exercise, getting rest, and eating properly. Eating clean. Anything else is a fantasy. You can go and you can have surgery and things along those lines. You can do the bypass surgeries and all that other stuff. Or what's it called? Bypass. There's a surgery that people have where they, have like a piece of their stomach taken out. The name escapes me right now. You can go and do that. That's fine. But going to the gym, whether it's a commercial gym or at home, that's how you lose weight. That's how you keep yourself in shape. All these they've been selling diet and weight loss pills for decades now. She brought up The Big Loser. Yes, those shows are a little extreme. But what you should be doing is watching your caloric intake, getting some cardio in to make yourself better, lifting some weights or doing some type of, you could do martial arts, you could do whatever it is, yoga. It's unbelievable the level of outright corruption that exists in the world today. And it's not just, and it's mostly the government, but it's not just the government. People will buy into anything. Once again, I would love to see a petition out there, and I would sign it for this woman and anybody else who's sitting here trying to sell you on this fallacy that obesity is genetic. No, your body's shape, the way your body is shaped, is genetic. Okay? Whether you have an hourglass body, whether you're a mesomorph, an ectomorph, I could go into, I'm not going to bore you with all the technical terms. Your height, your foot size, the shape of your head, things like that are genetic. There's nothing you can do about that. Your nose, I mean, you can go and have surgery to have your nose redone, things along those lines. Like you can get collagen in your lips and things along those lines. But when it comes to obesity, that is a lifestyle thing. There's three body types out there. For men, there's three body types for men. You have an ectomorph, who's somebody who has a tough time. They're lean. They're generally a little bit taller, longer limbs, fast metabolism, difficulty gaining weight, lean muscle mass. Then you have a mesomorph who has more of an athletic build, kind of, you can think of along the lines of a football player, well-defined muscles, big bone with a sturdy frame. And then you have an endomorph, which is stocky, solid build, typically shorter than average height, thick arms and legs, a lot of bodybuilders, people along those lines. And you can't do anything about that. The way your body is shaped is just the way that your body is shaped. You can watch your caloric intake. See, when it comes to things like this, I don't take too many things seriously, but things like that I really have an issue with. Because it's outright corruption. It's hard enough in this world. And that's why people don't take the medical establishment very seriously anymore. I don't know how many times I've heard stories of young women going to the doctor and asking about, I've had people I know go to the doctor and ask about like birth control pills and ask what the side effects are. And the doctor says, oh, there's minimal side effects. You know, I can look this shit up online, right? You know, how can you with a straight face tell me that there's minimal, how can you tell me with a straight face that there's minimal side effects when I've heard of stories of young women in their 20s getting full-on strokes? My cousin had her roommate in college suffered a full-on stroke being on birth control pills. How can you as a doctor with a straight face say it's minimal? Look, whenever you go into your doctor's office, more times than not always, but more times than not, you'll usually see, obviously, patients and people who work at the front desk, the whole bit. And you know who else you see? You see pharmaceutical reps. 3 or 4 of them. My old doctor, before he retired, I would see 3 or 4 of them, and they're giving him samples of things. Sample. I know a couple of pharmaceutical reps. Most of these people don't have a science background of any kind, and they're just selling drugs to people. Or they're selling drugs to doctors so that the doctors can sell them to people. Now, I also want to be clear, I am not against medicine. Periodically, you need it. Okay, my father suffered a stroke at 72. It was medication that kept him alive all the year for the additional 7 years he was here. So I'm not against it. But you know what I am against? Lying from medical professionals. You can heal your body eating right and getting rest. There are outliers out there, clearly. But you don't need medication to cure everything. You don't need medicine to cure everything. a good portion of it is you watching what it is that you eat. You can get rid of things of hypertension and chronic, hypertension is chronic high blood pressure. You can limit those things, or you can, give yourself an opportunity. The use of a sauna has been shown to help, keep strokes down by like 50%. So what is this woman talking about? For her to say it's genetic is an absolute lie. Harvard should fire her, but it's not going to happen because they're all in on it together, because they're all trying to make money. We were told at the beginning of the pandemic that the Rona shot was the only way to get rid of the virus. It came, it went, boosters, the whole bit. People and they're like, oh, well, we didn't realize. Of course you realize, you corrupt pieces of shit. Not one person that I know of has gone to jail. And you wonder why it is why the general public doesn't like to go to doctors. You wonder why it is that they don't sit there and do their annual visits. And I'm one of these people who says you should do an annual visit. I think you should go to the doctor every 6 months. Get a blood test, the whole bit, so you see what's going on. You see where you need to make a change. Where you need to improve. I think every 6 months you should be in there seeing your doctor, getting a blood test, doing a full workup. It's important. You want to know your numbers going forward, especially as you get into 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. But most people don't want to go because a good portion of these doctors are liars. And I get they have to make money, and I get the insurance companies, which is a whole nother discussion, give them a hard time. But at what point do we stop this? If you want to know how the pharmaceutical companies really work, there's a really good show that I watched some point last year called Dope Sick, starring Michael Keaton. There's a few other actors in there who I'm not familiar with. It was a limited series on Hulu. Watch that show. It's a really, really good show. I don't generally watch too much on TV anymore, but it's a really good show. I definitely think you should watch it. It basically talked about what's the drug? What's the drug now? The drug is it's not Percocet. It's what is it? I'm looking it up right now. So just give me 1 second. The company. What is the name of the company? It was the opioid addiction back in the it was in the Midwest. I want the name of the drug though. I'm not finding it right now. But basically this company was putting out, it wasn't Percocet. Maybe it was Percocet. I can't remember now. But anyway, it's a really good show. Definitely, you see how it is that the drug companies operate. And when you get to the end of the show, I'm not giving it away. You can watch it. You can watch it for yourself. I'm not going to give it all away. It's a really good show, though. But yes, this is why people don't trust in the medical establishment. Because of liars like this. I want to call her other names, but I'm just going to say woman for now. What a disgraceful individual. Anyway, let me get off that. Let me get off that. I want to go to something else that's going on in the news today. For those of you who are basketball fans, Kyrie Irving got traded yesterday to the Dallas Mavericks. You know Kyrie Irving, he used to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then he played for the Boston Celtics. Then he went to Brooklyn with Kevin Durant. Obviously, past couple years have been a little rough for him. I mean, he's ultimately a millionaire, so it doesn't matter. But last year, when New York City put its mandate in for New York City workers to be vaccinated, including essential workers, and a certain essential workers either couldn't work or were fired. In the case of Kyrie Irving, he was not allowed to play home games because he was an employee of New York City, Brooklyn more specifically. And so the owner of the Brooklyn Nets got mad at him. I've had conversations with many people about that. What I think they tried to do to them and the people of New York City was disgraceful. Now, I had a friend of mine actually yesterday who was like, like just like when you're in the military, it's all for one and one for all. Well, this is not. I didn't want to get into it with him, but it's not the same thing. We all know that the military uses those soldiers in conjunction with the pharmaceuticals to get those drugs out there. That's part of the way that they make their money. The government pays for it, and then they force the soldiers to take a bunch of drugs. Nobody really talks about it. But I know people in the military, yeah, they just have to take it, and they just have to take these drugs. They can't ask any questions, which is ridiculous. I almost joined the military, too, when I was younger. They don't want you asking any questions. You just got to take this drug and like it. What? No. Eat a dick. But the owner of the Nets, Joseph Tsai, the communist sympathizer who will sit there and get mad at Kyrie over a video that he put up, or well, it wasn't just him, it was Adam Silver as well. But be mad that he posted a link about the Black Israelites, the movie that came, that's still on Amazon, by the way. As far as I know, I haven't checked for it, but we're mad at Kyrie for putting that up, but neither of them talks about the human rights atrocities going on in China right now and their concentration camps. So he got traded to the Dallas Mavericks, and I guess from what I've read, one of the objectives was to make sure that Kyrie didn't end up with the Lakers. Him buying that team is one of the worst things to ever happen, man, in terms of sports. What a disgraceful, anyway. You have an emotional owner, and you have an inept general manager. An emotional owner who says nothing about the human rights violations over in China. Nothing, not a word. Nothing from Adam Silver either. I know he's making billions over there. I know a good portion of the NBA money comes from China, but you think you'd say something? Nothing, not a word? We're going to just keep quiet about it? Okay. They have their zero COVID policy. You can go on, you can check Instagram. I see videos all the time. People getting punched in the gut. People getting their doors kicked in. I know there've been some protests too. I think I heard one story, or I saw one story where people were like running out of a Costco out there because it was like coming down to lockdown time. I seen videos of people in hazmat suits kicking doors in, ripping people off their couches, but nothing from Joseph Tsai or the NBA for that matter. Just continue to make your money and play stupid. If that's how you roll, that's how you roll. I know a lot of people out here didn't like Kyrie for the fact that he put the video up and didn't apologize until he was forced by, I believe, the NBA as well, but it was forced by Nets ownership to basically sit out and do like sensitivity training or something like that. I believe New York City owes him money for that BS rule, which wasn't under Eric Adams, by the way. That was under de Blasio, a.k.a. de Bozo. That moron. So we're just going to outright discriminate against people who make a personal medical decision, but everything else is quiet. I know that I know all those nurses, all those essential workers. Remember at the height of everything, they essential worker this, essential worker that, as they should. They had a very important job, but now those people make a personal medical decision, and they all got fired, and I believe they won in federal court to get back pay plus interest. And New York City is still trying to hold them and still trying to appeal it. What the fuck does that tell you? But let's be mad at Kyrie Irving because he posted a documentary that has anti-Semitic tropes, as they say, and you heard the rest of the talking heads in the media going after him. Charles Barkley famously saying he should be suspended because he has a Jewish son-in-law or something like that. Ain't nobody worried about your feelings, man. Somebody posting something on there, I've said this before, somebody posting something on their social media doesn't mean that's what they believe in. They're simply saying, I'm watching this. And we have to be careful with that social media thing as well. You know what I'm saying? We have to be careful with it because now it's being used against you. You can't just post something anymore. I said it on, I forget which episode. if I go and I watch the Jeffrey Dahmer movie, essentially, on Netflix, and I post it on my Facebook or my Fedbook or my IG or whatever the case might be, does that mean that I co-sign cannibalism? Kyrie Irving came out and said, look, I don't agree with everything in the documentary. And then people are like, oh, well, don't you think you should apologize to the Jewish people? Why? Should the Jewish people have to apologize for some of the things that they're doing out here? I live in an area where there's different sects, but should they have to apologize? For some of the things that they do? I'm not asking for an apology. That are illegal. Things that they're able to get away with. I don't hear anything from other people. It was a character assassination of Kyrie Irving because he posted a documentary about the black Israelites. Made him to be this bad person. Now, I've never met him. I know he said some weird shit about the earth being flat and all that other jazz. People came after him, called him all kinds of names. He should be suspended. To hear, Shaquille O'Neal calling him an idiot. I know there was an entire thing. I'm not going to play it here, but at what point does this stop? The longest story short, he got traded to the Mavs yesterday. Brooklyn Nets are in trouble, man. As long as you've got that guy as your owner, this is Knick level dysfunction. And the Knicks have been quiet, to their credit. They're just going out there, trying to play games. We don't got James Dolan everywhere, calling people alcoholics and all that anymore. We haven't heard from him in a while. Well, I know, actually got into a little trouble because he had some issue with the New York State Liquor Authority or something, and he wasn't going to have liquor at like a Rangers game or alcohol or something, but that's the first time we heard about him in a while. And that didn't have to do with the Knicks. That had to do with the other team at the Garden. So respect to the Knicks for being quiet. But yeah, this is nuts, man. What a disgraceful... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Craziness out here. Craziness. It's crazy to me that we're in these times right now. People are just all over the place, man. All over the place. Actually, there's another story that I'm going to do this one quickly. Getting to the end of the show here. This is from the Oklahoma City Sentinel. Federal government tracking unvaccinated people who go to the doctor and hospital due to CDC designed surveillance program. I guess this was out of Los Angeles, California, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. U.S. government is tracking people who decided not to get the COVID vaccine injection, according to a bombshell federal government records exclusively obtained by the National File. Never heard of them? According to the shocking video, unvaccinated people are quietly being tracked when they go to a doctor's office or to the hospital due to a quiet new program proposed and implemented by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. Government meeting materials make clear that the new program is designed to track people who are not immunized or only partially immunized. The bombshell piece of information was revealed September 15th, 2021 during a virtual meeting of the federal government's ICD-10 Coordination and Maintenance Committee. This is craziness. There's a bunch of other stuff. The ICD-10 coding system was created by the World Health Organization, and doctors are required to use it to categorize different kinds of patients. More discrimination. Okay. See, ladies and gentlemen? You see, I can go on and on in the article. I've posted it in my on my YouTube channel, the Jay Lex Podcast. I think I posted this one. But once again, here we go again. First off, asking whether or not you're vaccinated, I don't care what the law changes were, is a HIPAA violation. We've already talked about that. Now you're being tracked if you go to a doctor's office or a hospital. Once again, another form of discrimination. Why are you being tracked? What are you being tracked for? because these people didn't want to give Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson their arm as an experimental thing? Is that what we're doing right now? How is this legal? I mean, we already know that the Patriot Act was an illegal form of legislation anyway. That should be abolished, but with all the surveillance and everything along those lines, it's never going to go away unless you have somebody with enough gravitas to get rid of it, along with the other illegal things going on. But you decide to make a personal medical decision about a disease that supposedly came from some bats in out in Wuhan. They've never had to face any kind of repercussions. Fauci and the rest of them is out there making money off of this. They never had to face any repercussions. People are getting myocarditis in relation to getting either the shot itself or the booster. But nobody goes to jail over this. But you are going to be tracked because you made a personal medical decision. I've heard doctors talk about. I heard it with somebody that I know personally, who might need a transplant, a liver transplant, and the doctor is going out there saying, "You can't get a transplant unless you get a COVID shot." How is that legal? There's no negotiation. Excuse you? I'd usually just heard it kind of in hearsay, but for somebody who I know personally. How dare anyone tell you because you didn't get some experimental therapy drug that you can't get a life-saving transplant? Whomever it is, like I was talking about that woman, Fatimah, whatever, Cody Stanford, whatever her name is, the same way her license should be taken, those doctors' license should be taken. That is medical malpractice. You have a Hippocratic oath to help somebody who is sick. How goddamn dare you think that you can just, or they can't just be treated because of the law? No, then whoever it is that's writing these laws should also be imprisoned. What the fuck are we doing out here? So please, to those of you who are not vaccinated, please be careful. I think I've been to the doctor at least once or twice. I haven't been to a hospital, but I've been to the doctor, just to do a regular routine checkup. And they ask those questions. And I don't think much of it. I really don't care to answer it. But I'm like, whatever. So now I know I'm probably being tracked. And you wonder why it is people don't trust you anymore. You wonder why it is people don't go to what people would rather be at home than to go to a hospital, unless it's an absolute emergency. It's disgusting. When does the outright corruption end? When do people start going to jail? This is crazy. It's anyway, I'm getting exacerbated just thinking about it. We'll end the show on this note, on this terrible note. Please take care of yourselves. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.